So, Jiri Prochazka. Now, why have I never heard of this guy before? Because he fights well, fights in such a particular manner. The way he manipulates his body to throw shots, the way he manipulates. Sorry, guys. The way he manipulates his body to avoid being attacked, and the way he manipulates his body to attack his opponent. It's just the way, and just looking at his record, 28 wins, just 3 losses. He's a former amateur Muay Thai kickboxer, inaugural and former rising FF light heavyweight champion, inaugural and former Czech GCF light heavyweight champion, and since September 2020, he's been in ranks number 5 in the UFC light heavyweight ranking division. He's currently at number 6 in the Sherdogs official mixed martial arts light heavyweight rankings, and he's number 6 in the Fight Matrix's light heavyweight ranking. So, he's done a lot. He's got a lot under his belt in terms of combat sports experience and achievements. He's done really well. And looking at his last fight, which I can't even remember his opponent, he has there's a way that he fights, and it just almost casually even. No, of course he still has to fight. He still has to compete to win. But the way he fights, almost relaxing. He knows what he's doing. You can see when he's avoiding shots, and it's just like second nature. He just ducks and just avoids his opponent's arms. And in this fight that he had at the UFC Vegas 25 against Dominic Reyes, it was good for entertaining fight. I mean, not to knock Dominic Reyes, but at some point, you could see that Dominic Reyes had taken some damage, and his face was getting bloody and was becoming a mess. Prochazka was his face was clean almost throughout the whole fight. It was basically just towards the end of the nearly halfway into the second round, that Prochazka just landed that spinning elbow, and just like Reyes just went stiff, just almost lifeless, just collapsed to the floor. He really generally did look stiff. What's his name? Marco Bisping said about one of the past fights. I can't remember the opponent's names, but he said as stiff as a board. This guy wasn't exactly as stiff as a board, but he was definitely lifeless. It was crazy. But the fight was good. The first round of the fight, the stand up seemed pretty good from both guys. After the takedown from Reyes, Prochazka started putting on the pressure, just with plenty of counter striking. But the second round, when things became really interesting, Prochazka's really still piling on the pressure, much more than before in the first round, and he got a takedown. And then, just not too long after that, he landed that spinning elbow with his left elbow. I think he tried to do so with his right elbow, missed, and then landed it clean with his left elbow, and Dominic Reyes just went straight down. And even after in the post press conference after the fight, I keep getting so bloody tongue twisted here. After the press conference, after the fight, the post fight press conference, Prochazka had nothing but respect for Dominic Reyes. He just said he's a nice guy. Just personally, he's a he's a good guy. He knows that even throughout the whole fight, throughout the whole aftermath of the fight, he noticed no hatred and no awkwardness from his opponent. So, excuse me. So it's great. I do like a guy. I do like an athlete, man or woman who can take their loss. Still hold their head up high and not bitch and moan about it, because that makes you even more of a loser, and it makes you look like a sore loser. I'm sure many people will agree with me on that. So moving on was the Giga Chikadze. Was a Giga versus a Cub Swanson fight. So this fight really, it's again one of those fights that's it's over before it's even started. Sense myself properly. Yeah, it was it's over before it's even started. So all I can really say is that there was madness. Cubs torso just almost. No, that's not the right way to say it. Giga just landed that left kick with that hit Cubs torso, and that it really ended it all. And yeah, that's before the fight was over before it even started. I think I heard, was it someone say that where where Giga's foot hit Cub's midsection around his waist. Did they say it was like a liver shot that it hit that side, that it hit an organ there so deep that it just, that Cub just had to collapse to the ground, and then Giga just went in for the kill and just finished the guy off with strikes and with knockouts. So not much else to say from that fight. It was one of those crazy matches, and I've seen many fights like that before. Many fights like that before in the short time that since I've started following the sports of MMA, with what's name, Corey Sanhagen, Jorge Marta with against Ben Askren. Just the opponent just walks in there and lands just a deafening, sickening KO, whether it's with a knee or a heavy right or left hand, and the match just ends like that, just seconds, minutes into the first round. So and the other fight that interested me, which was after seeing their stare down at the weigh-ins, which was between Lon Kutlaba versus Dustin Jacoby. So I think at the weigh-ins, the stare downs, Kutlaba had grabbed Jacoby's head, and just like at the stare downs, these things do happen if there's so much tension and bad blood between the two fighters. So those things potentially will happen, and that sparked my interest into watching this fight when the event took place on Saturday evening, or should I say Sunday morning, for me being here in the UK. So looking at the fight, Kutlaba, I hope I pronounced that correct. Kutlaba was really dominating the fight with quite a few takedowns. But as the fight wore on, I could see that he was getting quite tired and exhausted. We were still managing to land, dish out strikes and punches. The fight ended with a draw, but I have to say that if they had to choose a winner, I'm sure Kutlaba, I'm sure he would have been the winner, because he was really fighting these. I think all the takedowns there, even that the body slams, takedowns, it was him that was landing them, and he's really domineering and dominant throughout the whole fight. But it came to a draw. Now there's other the other big news story that came across my social media, my social media feed, my Instagram and Twitter, and on my YouTube news video feed, was the issue of Diego Sanchez being released from the UFC. Now, the first I heard of it was basically there was a video that was posted on, I think it was one of the YouTube news channels there. I call it news channels, but one of the YouTube one of the MA YouTube videos, YouTube channels. Well, in the video was some footage which was actually taken a few months back. Excuse me, let's just belch a little bit there. It was taken a few months back. It was recorded by Diego Sanchez or somebody who did it for him on his behalf, and it was taken, I think, around the time of UFC 253, around September, October. And what in the footage is basically was Diego Sanchez and his coach Joshua Fabia confronting the broadcasting team, which consists of an active mixed martial arts fighter, Paul Felder, who, and basically in the video, they were being confronted more or less. I mean, more so by Joshua Fabia, who was speaking on behalf of, bizarrely enough, speaking on behalf of Diego Sanchez, who really, if you think about it, he should be speaking for himself, because he's a fighter, he's a person in the cage, he's a person that the commentary is being based on his performance and his opponent's performance. So you would have thought that actually he would have been speaking for himself, and his voice would have been the loudest voice in the room. But bizarrely enough, it was his coach who was speaking for him. But that video is what really got my attention. I mean, as well as finding out that Diego Sanchez had been cut by the UFC, and Dana White did come and make a statement about the whole thing that had happened. So Diego Sanchez himself, the reason why, naturally and rightly so, is caused a bit of a stir within the mixed martial arts community, is that the guy has a big record, and is one of the, I think I can call him safely one of the veteran fighters of the UFC. He's got a record of 43 matches. Of those 43 matches, he's won 30 of those. He's lost 13 of those. He's fought in more fights of the year bouts than any other mixed martial arts fighter within the UFC. Before competing in the UFC, he competed in King of the Cage, and that's another fighting organization based in Southern California in the US. He's one of the only two mixed martial arts athletes who's fought in the UFC within 4 different weight classes: the middleweight, the welterweight, the lightweight, and the featherweight. He trains now. His team, I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to be his team anymore because of what's happened. He trains with the Jackson Mixed Martial Arts Academy, and yeah, as I said before, he's one of the oldest mixed martial arts athletes that's competing in the UFC. That's currently still competing now. He's been competing there for about 15 to 16, 17 years or so approximately. He's been fighting on the UFC since April 2005, so now it's 2021. That's pushing 16 to 17 years now. And I think I'm still going to talk about this probably in my next episode, but what can I say? From what I could see, the research that I managed to do before recording this podcast, it seems that really what happened, what the real catalyst or the real reason for this sacking, if you can call it, of this firing of Diego Sanchez from the UFC is actually to do with his coach. His coach, Joshua Fabio, who I talked about, who's in that video that they filmed of him and Diego Sanchez confronting the broadcast team of the UFC 253. Just a moment, guys. Excuse me, my mouth always gets dry when I'm doing these podcasts. So, Diego Sanchez's coach, well, you can call him his coach, but I mean, if you look at it, if you're looking at the research, from what I could see, all the data and all the sources kind of point in the direction that this guy is more than just his coach. He's his manager, his guru. I mean, there have been suspicions by people within the UFC that Joshua Fabio is even controlling Diego Sanchez's social media accounts, his email accounts, his telephone accounts, and virtually everything that's related to this guy and his fighting career. So and another thing that kind of prompted this sacking of Diego Sanchez was that Fabio did request for all of Diego Sanchez's medical records dating back to 2004, and I think he said not Diego Sanchez, but Joshua Fabio actually said to the UFC in a particular phone call that he doesn't feel that Diego Sanchez should be fighting. Joshua Fabio said this in a phone call to the UFC just a few days before the sacking happened, that he said he doesn't feel that Diego Sanchez should be fighting in this one. I think the person on the other end of the line, speaking on behalf of the UFC, they said, okay, fine, if that's the case, then he shouldn't be fighting. Then and if I got this right, yeah, they said, okay, fine, if you're telling us that he shouldn't be fighting in that because of this particular injury, or because you feel if you feel he's unwell, I assume they said that because Fabio is his coach, and Fabio is probably the next person they can speak to him because he's like a close individual to Diego Sanchez. They thought, okay, it's best that they don't put him in that situation and be almost responsible for anything that could happen inside the octagon while he's fighting. So that's probably one of the reasons why they said it. But a lot of the sources is pointing, even words from Dana White is pointing in the direction of the reason why we had to sack this guy is because someone else, an outside figure, party, has been interfering in his life so greatly, so deeply, that it feels like this guy doesn't even know his own mind anymore, that we just have to get rid of him. But I like him, but there's a problem that Diego Sanchez has, and that problem is called Joshua Fabio. Joshua Fabio has just basically taken over his life, especially his mixed martial arts life, and it's really sad to see him go. He's been with the company for such a long time. So yeah, I go back again to that video from September, October 2020, which I found actually, I thought, when I saw the video, I thought it was actually a really recent video, like a video that had only been taken or recorded about maybe 2 or 3 days before the news story broke. But no, the video actually dated back to like September, October of 2020. And in the video, as I said before, Fabio was speaking with the UFC broadcasting team. Sanchez was standing right there, and basically what it was that, if I go into more details, that they were, this is the reason they gave anyway. If you listen to what not Diego, but what Joshua Fabio is saying, Fabio is saying that Sanchez has been disrespected by the broadcasting team after the UFC 253 for the sort of commentary they gave. Basically, the sort of commentary they gave didn't really paint Diego Sanchez in a good light while he was fighting in the octagon on the evening of the UFC 253 event, and basically people disrespecting him on Twitter, Instagram, on all over social media, and basically it wasn't nice. But one of my well, I was about to say the word concern, but one of my suspicions is that if you are the person being disrespected, if this is you, if you're the person who you weren't happy with the commentary, that the commentary was based on your performance about something, then you really should be speaking for yourself. And you see the many other situations, you do wonder why one person isn't speaking, unless if they have the speech impediment, they can't speak this particular language. If they're in a certain part of the world where they don't speak the local dialects, then okay, you have to get an interpreter who will speak for you, or a friend who knows the language better than you do. But in this case, in the case whereby, you should be able to make your own case yourself, because it's basically the whole situation is hinged on you and your performance, and you feel very badly about the situation. You feel you've been treated very unfairly in that situation. Then really, ideally, wisely, you should be speaking from yourself. It should come from the horse's mouth. It should come from you. But if it's coming from someone else, it will raise people's suspicions as to why someone else is speaking for you, and why you cannot speak for yourself. Though people will be wondering what else is going on behind the scenes here. Because if I move away from this, there are certain, I've seen certain thumbnails on YouTube as well as certain videos about Joshua Fabio, and there was a particular video Joshua Fabio was recording in on a particular show. I won't mention the name. It's a good show. I like him. But I think there's certain things you're saying in that video that were just really bizarre and weird. But I go back to the thumbnails that I just mentioned, and I have to say, first of all, when I saw that picture of these two guys sitting shirtless in someone's bedroom, there on the bed, first of all, I thought they looked like twins. They look so alike. But beyond that, you do wonder if there's something more to the whole situation as to why this person, Fabio, has muscled in, as Dana White said, has muscled in, barged into this guy's life, and is almost trying to take, or trying to leech off of Sanchez's hard work, because he's a well-known mixed martial arts fighter, and has fought a lot of fights. He's a mixed martial arts veteran, has been with the biggest fighting organization in the world for a really long time. So you do wonder, someone like that, almost like, I wouldn't say they're on the same level as Conor McGregor, but when you have that sort of achievement, and we have that sort of, we've done so much, you've achieved so much, you can draw in, so you've had that much success. People, you do find that such people do become a target for other people to come in and leech off. Other people come in and leech off their hard work, leech off the back of them, just right off the back of their hard work. It's that sort of scenario, and that's what the point that Dana was making. So when you see all these situations, all these things, including the picture that I just told you about Fabio and Sanchez both shirtless and on the bed, it kind of suggests, or kind of arouses suspicions in people's minds, even in my mind. Could there be more to this story than could there be more than meets to the story than what we're being told, what we are seeing? So and there's still lots of other stuff, but I'm going to talk about this again in my next podcast. I just need to do some more research and really look into it. So I don't want to say anything which may later on turn out to be incorrect. And yeah guys, and going back to the first fight, of Jiri Prochazka versus Dominic Reyes. Yes, I can say that I called it. Looking at Prochazka's performance in his last fight, looking at Reyes's performance in his last fight, I think I can safely say I called that fight. And yes, based on their performances, I happily and safely, staunchly predicted who the winner of this fight would be. So, guys, I think I'll leave at that. Don't think there's anything I haven't covered I'd like to cover. Yes, if you did enjoy the podcast, please don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my content. It really helps my channel grow, and it really helps my podcast grow. When you do that, you can listen to my podcast on Apple iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. I think it has been shared a few times to other audio platforms as well. I know my channel is still very tiny, so I do my best to grow and expand the my podcast as well as I can. So, guys, thank you very much.